Mike Florio from NBCSN's Pro Football Talk at 5:30 Eastern every single night. What a treasure trove of stories you've had here the last couple of weeks here, Mike. Unbelievable.
It never slows down, and the NFL always finds a way to creep to the top of the stack no matter what's happening in other sports.
Jared Allen in Seattle, that I don't know if he's going there because nobody else was going to give him the kind of money he wanted, so he's going to go there if he can to try to win a championship?
Yeah, I think that's the case. Now, there was a report yesterday the deal's close, and then his agent came out and said he's going to take the weekend and make a decision. The Cowboys are interested. Other teams may be interested. The question is, how much more money could he make elsewhere? And does he want to take a shot on getting to a Super Bowl? He's been in the NFL 10 years. He came close one time to getting there back in 2009 with the Vikings. So this is his chance. And, he made $73 million the last 6 years. So it's not like he needs the money. But I'm surprised he'd be willing to make a decision so soon. I could see him doing something like a Brett Favre, the quarterback on that team that almost went to the Super Bowl in 2009, just showing up in August and avoiding all the stuff that players do from April through the end of June.
The news with Matt Schaub reportedly headed to Oakland, and you got Ryan Fitzpatrick going to the Texans. Does that mean these teams are more likely or less likely to use their first-round pick on a quarterback?
I think the Texans become more likely. And think of the timeline. The Blake Bortles Pro Day workout was Wednesday. The Texans signed Fitzpatrick Thursday, and now on Friday they're shipping out Matt Schaub. It sure looks like they're locking in on Bortles with that first overall pick. And Fitzpatrick isn't getting paid enough to be the starter. Now with Schaub, unless they dramatically reduce his contract, if the Raiders are paying him $10 million, that means he's the guy. That means the fifth overall pick that the Raiders hold will either be traded down or be used on someone other than a quarterback. I think Dennis Allen, the coach, and Reggie McKenzie, the GM, realize that if they use that fifth pick on a quarterback, they may not be there for that guy to reach his full potential. They've got to try to win now, and they're going to bank on the fact that Schaub's performance last year was an aberration, hope he can turn it around, and hope that all these new players they're bringing in can come together quickly and make the team relevant.
So they're not going to use that, fifth pick?
I don't think they would use the fifth pick on a quarterback if they get Schaub and if he doesn't reduce his pay. It's still very murky whether or not they're going to pay him the full $10 million salary plus another $1 million in per-game roster bonuses. If they're taking on that contract as is, I'd be shocked if they take a quarterback at number 5. But then again, it's the Raiders.
He's Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, NBCSN, the show Pro Football Talk at 5:30 Eastern, Monday through Friday. A couple other things here. Michael Vick have no place to go but the Jets now?
Yeah, I think so. And, my understanding is the Raiders were interested in him, but he had no interest in going to Oakland, in part because he feared that they would use that fifth overall pick on a quarterback, so he'd be the starter for like 6 weeks. I think he believes that in New York he'll get a fair chance to compete with Geno Smith to be the starting quarterback week 1. And even if Smith wins that initial competition, Smith inevitably will falter to the point where they'll give Vick a try because Rex Ryan, even with that contract extension, it's a one-year opportunity for him to save his job beyond 2014. Ryan will be tempted to go to Vick if Smith struggles, and Vick is betting on the fact that he's substantially better than Geno Smith. And really, if you had Vick on that team last year, the team that went 8-8 with Geno Smith struggling, they probably would have been a playoff team.
Here's the problem I would have with that. If Geno Smith is your starter and he throws 2 picks in week 2, then all of a sudden Michael Vick comes in. Is that a bad scenario for them? I'm wondering about the growth of Geno Smith. And if Rex Ryan is dealing with winning now, Vick helps you now more so than Geno Smith does.
Well, it shows you how quickly quarterbacks are being thrown overboard in today's NFL. You used to have 5 years to figure it out. I mean, in today's NFL, Terry Bradshaw would be back in Shreveport pumping gas before he ever got a chance to figure out how to play. You've got a very short period of time to prove that you can do it. You're thrown on the field, typically week 1 now, and you've got a year or two to get it to the point where you're competing at a high level, and if you can't, they're going to move on to someone else.
Deshaun Jackson, it was sort of out there. I don't know where it is of him possibly being traded to, and it's, San Francisco and New England?
Yeah, and the Jets interested because if Vic goes there and Marty Mornhinweg is there, who was the offensive coordinator in Philly, and other teams potentially at the table. And look, the Eagles have said nothing publicly to throw water on this, and the reports are that Deshaun Jackson's very anxious about his status, and they haven't even contacted him to tell him not to worry about it. And you throw on top of that, the league meeting starts Sunday, and everybody will be together in Orlando, and it's a great opportunity for the Eagles to try to work out a deal with everyone there, everyone at the table. They can maximize value. And if I'm interested in Deshaun Jackson, I have to wonder, why aren't the Eagles? And do I want to pay this guy $10.5 million? But it looks like teams are willing to at least explore it for now.
When the owners meet, how long does it take before the topic of conversation is Jim Irsay?
Oh, it's going to be from the moment they arrive, because any owner that is seen by the media, that's the first question that the media is going to ask. What do you think about the Jim Irsay situation? We've already heard from Steve Tisch, co-owner of the Giants. And I think everybody's going to say the same thing. Look, players and owners need to be treated the same way. It's the same rule that applies to everyone. But when we get to the point where it's time to discipline Jim Irsay, that's going to be the real question. How do you discipline a guy? How do you fine a guy who's worth $1.6 billion? How do you fairly fine him the way the players get fined? Players get fined 2 game checks for a DUI. Do you take away 2 weeks of the Colts' revenue from the TV deals? If Jim Irsay is ultimately guilty of DUI, it's not going to be an easy formula for the NFL.
But can you punish the team for something the owner did? Can I take away a draft pick there? Is that fair to the team?
I don't think it's fair to the team. I think the only way to punish the owner is to hit him in the pocketbook. And if you take away $500,000, because I've heard that number, all the fine him $500,000, he's worth $1.6 billion. How is that commensurate with taking away 2 game checks from a player? I think they need a fine to reflect what he is worth, and he is worth a lot of money. But I don't think you take away cap space. I don't think you take away draft picks. That's not fair to the team, and that's not fair to its fans.
Before I let you go, Adam Carolla was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and we were just talking about sports, and he said that he would raise the goalpost. And he said, why not? Take them all the way up or take them up further. Bill Belichick is now saying we should raise the uprights 5 more feet.
Well, he wants the uprights higher, so when a kick is high and it potentially goes over the top.
Yeah, but that's what Adam Carolla was saying. Take the uprights up 5 more feet, 10 more feet, whatever it is. Why wouldn't you? Because it's hard to judge if it goes over the top of the bar or not, or inside.
Yeah, I think at a certain point, though, the thing gets so top-heavy that the next time Jimmy Graham tries to dunk it, the whole thing's coming down.
Well, how about we outlaw the dunk?
I'm surprised they haven't. I mean, they allowed players to keep doing it after they passed the rule that you can't use any props after you score. Anytime you say this, you get labeled as a proponent of the no fun league. But I like the game to continue. I don't like to have to take an extended break so that they can come out and re-level the goalpost. I mean, that kind of slows down the pace of the game.
Yeah, I can't have Bob Vila out there with his leveler going, wait a minute here. I wouldn't let you have your hands on something that could affect that has something to do with the game itself. So I don't, as much as it's entertaining, I can't let Jimmy Graham be dunking and, then you have an odd-shaped or, it's not level goalpost there. So
and there's like 13 proposals this year, and amazingly, that's not one of them. But the owners can go off the grid if they want to, and they can do whatever they want, and that's something they should take away.
Good to visit with you, Mike. Have a great weekend.
All right, thanks, Bob.
That's Mike Florio, NBCSN Pro Football Talk at 5:30 Eastern.